We're talking about money today.
Oh, yes.
Good. Well, specifically, is that a good thing for you?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay. Well, specifically, we're going to talk about the psychology of debt and how we get into debt and then how we get ourselves out of it. Which I think is an interesting topic considering what's going on in the world and...
Yes, in general.
Yes. Yeah. And we seem to be living not just in a kind of personal debt consciousness, but almost a world debt consciousness as well. So, and especially New Zealand as well, because New Zealand has got a very strong debt culture. Yeah, I don't know.
Credit cards and personal loans and all the like.
Yeah. So, like many people, I graduated with a degree and a truckload of debt.
Yeah.
So I can look back on that time and think I really didn't understand the value of money at all. And it's taken me quite a few years to just reverse that and, you know, get on top of things and start creating wealth as opposed to debt. So, is it okay if we talk about...
Yeah, please do. I'm listening.
Okay, so let's go. So there's two things I think are important when considering how do we get into debt and how do we get out of it. The first one is our mathematical relationship to money, so that's the numbers. So that could be income, outcome, you know, how much are you earning, how much do you owe, that kind of thing. And the second thing, which is more important, I think, is the psychology and your emotional relationship to money.
So like emotional eating as opposed
it's like
to
emotional spending. Yeah,
emotional spending.
I spent a lot of time trying to find an emotional spending app on the iPhone and I couldn't find one. And so I thought that'd be great.
Good idea.
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah. So what would you do? Like just put in every time you want to spend?
You know, when you buy something, you sort of, like emotional eating, you're like, how am I feeling? Why am I buying this? Do I need it?
Yeah.
And then like go and look at the data later and go, that's
why.
Look,
I had my period.
Look at I'm buying all these candy bars.
Yeah.
I didn't need those shoes.
It's interesting because what will happen when you go and see a financial advisor is they'll go straight to the mathematical relationship. So they'll be all about the numbers and, you know, if you've got debt, you need to organise them in the highest interest first and pay those ones off first, so on and so forth, which is only actually addressing that one practical view of it. And if it was just that easy, then none of us would get into debt in the first place. Do you know what I mean? If it was just a question of if we could all do maths, then it wouldn't happen. Yeah. So we have to kind of look into our beliefs, our sense of worth around money, how our parents treated money, what got handed down to us. And we're not going to do all of that now because we've only got, you know, a limited amount of time.
I don't want to cry on the room.
No, you don't. Neither do I. I probably would. But it's important to think about why are we impulse buying, why are we spending on things we don't have, and where does that come from. So the key thing is when we're in a debt consciousness, what we're actually doing is we're kind of addicted to that, what I would call the emotional buzz of actually being able to buy something even though we don't really own it. So it's this sense of being able to have something now instantly as opposed to actually waiting until you can afford it. Yeah,
the old school way of thinking, isn't it? My father-in-law never bought anything unless he could pay cash for it. You know? And it's a solid way of working with money because I agree. You use it when it's in your hand.
As long as you're not doing cash advances on your credit card.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah.
That's another dangerous trap. Yeah. So what we've got there on a psychological, like on a really, really basic level, is it's just this classical conditioning thing that you have a positive emotion attached to the behaviour itself. So it's like, you know, it might not always be just because you want a nice dress or to go out for dinner. It might be you have to get into debt to actually buy your weekly food, you know, so it might not be an emotional buzz as such, but maybe just a relief, you know, that you can actually feed yourself for that week. But we've got that positive emotion attached to spending money that you don't have. So the trick is to reverse it and to start to create a relationship with money where you're actually creating wealth and you're ahead of the game and you're saving and you have money for stuff that you can afford. You can afford stuff that you need. And I think really reversing that, like it took me a number of years to get out of that student debt mentality. And I think it can take a bit of time, but there's stuff you can do to get on the way.
When you say student debt, are you talking like student loan? Student loan.
So personally, I had a student loan.
Yeah.
I had a graduate loan from the bank.
Oh, yes.
And I also had an overdraft.
Oh, I had an overdraft and a credit card. The credit card was only $500 because that was all they'd let me have.
Really?
Which was pretty good.
That's pretty good.
But, and then overdraft, and then they suddenly go, oh, you're not a student anymore. Here are the fees.
Exactly. So then when we're actually spending the money, and a student's only one example of this. It's a common example, but it's only one. that kind of emotional buzz of getting something and having something that you want instantly is really detached from the actual horror of what comes later when you realise you have to pay it off. And not just pay it off, but pay it off with interest, So that dinner you went out for actually cost you 3 times as much than
because you took too long to pay it off.
Exactly. So the trick is I've got 3 things. So the 3 things are face it, number 1. Number 2, stop it. And number 3, pay it.
That's so sensible.
So simple. But let me elaborate quickly. So the facing it's important because if somebody's in a lot of debt, we can keep it a secret because we're just embarrassed about it or we don't want to face it. We go into denial. It's like someone who's overeating but won't weigh themselves kind of thing. It's like you're just in denial about it. So the key thing is to tell somebody. And so either a professional or somebody that you trust and just, do the numbers and find out what exactly is going on with your situation. Because if you don't do it now, you're going to have to do it eventually.
It's like being financially overweight.
Yes, that's a really good way of putting it, yeah. So, and the other thing is to try and work out how you became the way you were with money, which I have a really good book to recommend, which is called Love Your Money, Love Your Life. Or maybe it's Love Your Life, Love Your Money. But it's by a lady called Anne Hartley, and it's a really, really cool book. Very, very simple, and you just get to understand how you got that money consciousness.
Do you want to put that book name on our Facebook page?
Yeah, I'll put it. I'm going to blog when I get back to my office.
Oh, cool.
I'll
link
through. Yeah. So link through to that. And the stop it is just, make that decision that you're just going to stop acquiring debt. And you can do that now. And the really clever thing to do is not just, rip up your credit cards, which is what everyone advises to do, but also if there's any auto payments coming off the credit card, to make sure they're stopped as well. And get into this mindset that if you can't afford it, you can't afford it. So do what you can, give your credit card to someone else and stop acquiring debt. The third one, which is pay it, which is a very simple way of saying what I'm advising here. But that's about getting a payment plan that's not just about the numbers, but it's actually about creating an opposite emotion, which is positive reinforcement. So what you want to do is do whatever you can to get the same kind of emotional buzz or the emotional pleasure from seeing your debt be eliminated as you would when you used to buy things. And there's a really cool thing called the debt snowball, which again I'll link to on my blog, and I'll send you guys the link, which tells you how to do that. And it's actually about paying off the least amount of debt first, so the credit card with the least amount on it, paying that off first, and then paying off the larger balances later. Which, from a mathematical point of view, doesn't seem to make sense.
It doesn't make sense, but I completely agree with this. But also at the moment, a lot of banks are putting opportunities towards people that they will take over their credit card. For instance, Westpac, I know, had for the next, I think it was like 6%.
Yeah.
So instead of like 20.
Instead of 20. So, and that's for the life.
Balance transfer.
So that's for the life of that.
Of that debt,
that debt, which sort of cuts off 14%, which is a lot of debt, so it's a really, really positive thing to go through and just research who's giving those sort of balance transfers.
Good idea.
Yeah.
But I just like the idea of just going, okay, let's get rid of that debt. Boom. Oh my gosh, I've done it. Okay, next one.
Exactly. Yes. So that creates the same reinforcement, which will keep you motivated and keep you going. So once again, I'll link through to the blog so that people can look that up for themselves, because there's a little bit of detail in there. But that's my recommendations.
Awesome.
Very sensible.
Yeah. But sooner or later, something's got to snap inside of you, hasn't it? Where you just say, I can't be servicing debt for the rest of my life. No. Something has to change.
These hot points aren't worth it.
Yeah. Exactly.
These credit card companies are getting fat on me.
I don't know. I've been managing to pay off my debt pretty quickly every month, and then just accrue lots of points, and then I get like heaps of Dick Smith vouchers.
Do you?
And I got a Kindle with all my Dick Smith vouchers.
Wow. Very positively reinforcing.
I was like,
get free stuff.
Yep.
Awesome. That's very
amazing.
clever.
Now, I'd like to recommend a book called The Richest Man in Babylon. It's by George S. Clason, Clason. Now, it breaks down your financial income into sort of 3 lots. Out of 100% of your income, 70% goes into your living life, and just those expenses that you have in life. 20% of that goes into a savings, and it's sort of like a short-term fund, kind of like emergencies, but more for the trips and those things that you want to save up for. And the 10% is like an investment, and that's an investment in your future. Sort of like what a KiwiSaver is, but you're more in control of it, I guess.
Yeah.
The Richest Man in Babylon, very cool book. Read it. It's only
about $10 on Book Depository.
Don't put it on your credit card.
Yeah, it's 20. You'll make a saving on it because it's 25% off at the moment. So
awesome.
Check it out.
Yeah, hey, my accountant also has a philosophy that he never buys anything unless it's on sale. Which is quite interesting.
The only problem then is that if you buy something on sale that you didn't actually need in the first place because you went, it's on sale, I'm saving money.
And you go, that's what he means.
You don't actually save money by spending money.
No, that's exactly right. And it's really good just with that book that you recommended, Rob, to have a savings plan for emergencies.
Yes.
Because that's another thing that people keep spending on their credit card. Yeah. So good one.
Well, thank you for coming in today, Charlotte. It was lovely to see you again, and we'll see you again next month on the first Monday.
That'll be great. Look forward to it.